Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the presentation of Wavestone's Q4 2024-25 fiscal year revenue. I am Tess Lawrence, Financial Communications Officer at Wavestone, and tonight I'm pleased to welcome the co-founder and CEO of Wavestone, Pascal Imbert. Hello, Pascal.
Hello, Tess. Hello to all. My deepest apologies. We were late in our French conference call, and so real apologies for being so late to start this conference.
And Laurent Stoupy, CFO of Wavestone.
Hello, Tess. Hello, everybody.
And with that, Laurent, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tess. Let me start by covering Wavestone's business activity in Q4 24-25. Revenue was 245.3 million euros over the period, 1% lower than Q4 of the previous fiscal year. As anticipated, this last quarter started very slowly. At the beginning of the calendar year, clients were showing a more pronounced wait-and-see attitude in terms of launching new projects. As a reminder, Q-Perio has been consolidated since December 2023 and Aspirant Consulting since February 2024. On a pro forma basis, calculated as if these acquisitions had taken place on April 1st, 2023, revenue for Q4 showed an organic decline of -2%. Note that this result includes an unfavorable working day impact of -1.6% in Q4. Finally, over the entire 24-25 fiscal year, revenue amounted to 943.7 million euros, an increase of 35%. On a pro forma basis, annual revenue is stable compared with the previous year and in line with the updated target of last December. It should be noted that the working day impact over the whole fiscal year was favorable at +0.5%. In conclusion, Wavestone experienced a slightly negative economic growth of -0.5% over the year, which corresponds with the economic trend in revenue in Q4. Now, let's look at the operational indicators for the fiscal year. The firm's consultant utilization rate remained resilient. It stood at 73% for the entire fiscal year, stable compared with H1. At constant scope, the utilization rate stood at 72% compared with 73% over the whole of the previous fiscal year. Despite increased competition and continued pressure on prices, the average daily rate was 939 euros in 24-25, compared with 937 euros over the first 9 months of the fiscal year. At constant scope, it was 898 euros, stable compared with the previous fiscal year. Regarding business development, the order book has decreased and reflects the cautious approach of our customers at the beginning of 2025. At full scope, it stood at 4.2 months of work at the end of March, compared with 4.5 months at the end of December. At constant scope, it was 3.6 months, compared with 4.1 at the end of December. Now, a few words regarding human resources. The staff turnover rate continued to fall in the last quarter. At the end of March, on a rolling 12-month basis and at full scope, it stood at 12%, compared with 13% at the end of December. At constant scope, it was 12%, compared with 14% in the previous fiscal year. As planned, at the start of this fiscal year, we made approximately 1,000 gross hires, resulting in a 4% increase in consultant headcount from March 24 to March 25, rather than the 3% we had anticipated, given the slowdown in turnover. Finally, at the end of March, Wavestone had 6,076 employees, compared with 5,894 a year earlier. I'm now going to hand over to Pascal.
Thank you, Laurent. So let's now talk of our outlook for the coming months. After the slow start of Q4 24-25, demand has recovered, and I would say that since March, we returned to a level comparable to that at the end of the 2024 calendar year. From a geographical standpoint, market conditions remained difficult overall, with the exception of North America, where we have observed a positive trend since the fall of 2024, a trend certainly reinforced by the firm's investment in the region, investments that are beginning to pay off. From a sectoral point of view, market dynamics are similar to those already reported in recent months, with energy, insurance, and life sciences still among the most resilient sectors. Whereas in terms of offerings, projects related to cybersecurity, cloud, SAP, PLM, and of course, artificial intelligence continue to show strong momentum. As you can see, in the short term, there is no significant change in market trends. But what is changing profoundly is the extraordinary rise in uncertainty about the economic environment, which is linked, obviously, to an unprecedented geopolitical situation. This uncertainty weighs heavily on our visibility of future projects and also makes forecasting more difficult than ever. Against this backdrop, we continue, of course, to give absolute priority to business development activity, ensuring that we focus on the most active sectors and offerings. And when it comes to recruitment, we are maintaining a cautious and flexible approach. To return to the 24-25 fiscal year, which we have just closed, Q4 was indeed difficult, as Laurent explained. But this was completely in line with what we had anticipated when revising our objectives at the beginning of December 2024. We are therefore confirming today our annual recurring operating margin target of 12.5%. So thank you very much for attending this conference call. I'd like to remind you that our next meeting will happen on June the 2nd for the publication of our 24-25 comprehensive annual results. Until then, I wish you a very good end of day. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.